Why God is now bringing reckoning. The prophecy of divine justice. What if I told you that the creator of the universe is orchestrating a time of divine reckoning for those who have subjugated an entire people for 500 years? What if nearly everything you've been taught about the Bible, history, and race was rooted in deliberate misreadings meant to uphold power dynamics and conceal reality? This is a mere conspiracy. It's prophecy plainly stated in Scripture, long ignored or concealed from many. The overlooked narratives of the Bible. Let me pose another question. Why was the account in Numbers 12:1-10 never emphasized in your teaching, where Miriam criticized Moses for marrying a Cushite woman, and God instantly afflicted her with leprosy, making her skin white as snow? Why did Sunday school classes bypass this passage, which clearly shows God's protection of interracial unions? Could it be that this single episode dismantles centuries of distorted teachings? The signs of the era. What I see is unmistakable. The indicators are manifesting around us at this very moment. We are in the precise period Daniel foretold, Jesus cautioned about, and the prophets envisioned long ago. Divine justice isn't some far-off event. It's unfolding here and now. If you assume this is simply another discussion on social justice or politics, you're overlooking the deeper reality. This concerns divine justice. It's about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob holding the world accountable for twisting his word, ignoring his truth, and mistreating his people. The promise of renewal. After engaging with this message, your view of the Bible, history, and even your own identity will shift forever. The revelations here will reshape everything you once accepted. Let me be direct. In the coming hour, I'll present 7 clear scriptural proofs demonstrating that God has consistently aligned with the downtrodden, championed the sidelined, and is readying judgment against those who have warped his word to excuse wrongdoing. The black presence in Scripture isn't marginal. It's foundational to the redemption narrative. And restoration isn't vengeance. It's the justice God established from the beginning. Every empire opposing God's ways has collapsed. Egypt, Babylon, Rome. Any structure founded on deception and subjugation will follow the same scriptural pattern and divine promise. The intent of this message. If these words unsettle you, that's appropriate. Truth often disrupts complacency and consoles the afflicted. If they provoke anger, that's potentially transformative, as it may awaken you to truth. Understand this key point. This isn't about fostering division or amplifying hate in a fractured world. Every person, irrespective of skin color, bears God's image. We all trace back to the same ancestral humans who emerged from Africa. We are kin, like it or not, reclaiming the true foundation. The issue is that for 500 years, a system arose on a falsehood that melanin determined superiority. That system twisted scripture to rationalize profound evil. This message aims to restore biblical truth, not personal opinions, but what scripture declares, history verifies, science supports, and current events fulfill. It's about dismantling falsehoods and rebuilding on God's actual words, not institutional distortions. Are you prepared? Once you grasp this, you can't erase it. Once truth liberates you, you bear the duty to spread it. The outline of evidence. In the next 60 minutes, I'll demonstrate something that will challenge what you've learned in church, school, and culture. God has always championed the oppressed and embedded his advocacy for black people in Scripture in ways deliberately obscured, mistranslated, or dismissed for centuries. My commitment. First, all humanity traces to black African origins, affirmed in Genesis. Second, Moses, the supreme prophet, with a black Cushite woman, and God punished Miriam's objection with a severe affliction in Numbers 12. Third, Psalm 68 verse 31 offers a specific promise to Ethiopia, Cush, that has encouraged the oppressed across millennia. Fourth, the Exodus pattern of 400 years enslavement, judgment, and liberation mirrors the African American experience. Fifth, Jesus aligned with the marginalized, making black theology inherently scriptural. 6. Mishpat, Hebrew for justice, signifies restoration, not mere punishment, and aligns with reparations demands. 7th, prophecies in Daniel, Matthew, and Revelation indicate end-time signs and impending global divine justice. The erasure of history. Beyond that, I'll detail how this truth was suppressed. The institutions, teachings, laws, and figures that intentionally removed African roles from biblical and world history. You'll see how the fabricated curse of Ham, doctrine justified slavery, despite no biblical basis for it linking to skin color or Africa. You'll learn how Renaissance artists whitened biblical figures from the Middle East and Africa. You'll uncover how education systems taught white dominance in discovery and invention, contradicting archaeological evidence, restoring identity. Once the construction and purpose of these lies become clear, I'll reveal something vital: your true heritage, not as victims or descendants of slaves, but as heirs of kings, architects, fighters, and sages, survivors of the Middle Passage and centuries of dehumanization, who generated nations' wealth without recompense. Your DNA holds echoes of the earliest humans. Your forebears' brilliance is evident. From Garrett Morgan's traffic light to Jan Ernst Matzeliger's shoe-lasting machine, Charles Drew's blood plasma system. Further back, Egypt's monumental architecture, Timbuktu's ancient learning centers, Mali's vast riches, Kush's military strength. This legacy was stolen through destroyed libraries, revised histories, and teachings that your story began in bondage. It began in splendor and will conclude in splendor, per God's promise and prophecy. The impact of truth. Watching this will alter you irrevocably. You can't return to unawareness. Anger may arise, but it can become empowerment. Heartache may come, yet it can drive resolve to ensure future generations know their origins. A summons to bravery. For those who have gained from privilege rooted in deception, a decision awaits. Dismiss this as divisive, defend against it, or courageously confront history. Acknowledge that the Jesus you follow championed the oppressed, denounce religious pretense, and declare the last will be first. This isn't about personal guilt for ancestral wrongs. It's about dismantling ongoing deceptive systems, toppling false ideals like constructed racial superiority idolized for 500 years. Return to Scripture's core. God is impartial, judges hearts, and requires justice, not mere aid for the robbed. The African origin point. Enough silence. Enough shielding of lies. The God of justice, who heard Israel's plea in Egypt, Hagar's in the desert, slave spirituals in fields, is poised to respond, not with platitudes, but with power that overwhelmed Pharaoh's forces, felled Jericho's walls, and resurrected Christ. It's time for restorative justice, not demanded by us, but promised by him who fulfills his word. The scientific and scriptural basis. Let's start at the root. Proof 1. All humans originated from black Africans, and scripture aligns with the scientific reality. Genetics traces modern humanity to sub-Saharan Africa around 300,000 years ago, with the earliest Homo sapiens fossils there. The first modern humans were black-skinned women. Every living person carries their genetic legacy. This is scientific consensus. The Bible supports it in Genesis 10's Table of Nations. Ham fathers Cush, Ethiopia/Sudan, Mizraim, Egypt, Canaan, and Put, all tied to African lineages. Civilization restarts through Noah's sons, with one branch fully African via Ham. Debunking the curse of Ham. Racist theology invented the curse of Ham to claim Noah cursed all Ham's descendants to servitude. But Genesis 9 verses 20 to 27 curses Canaan alone, not Ham, not skin color, not Africans. That curse fulfilled in Israel's conquest of Canaan. The doctrine emerged in the 15th century to rationalize African enslavement, clashing with Galatians 3 to 28's equality, controlling imagery. If humanity began in Africa and Scripture centers African peoples, why centuries of whitewashed biblical art? Why Jesus shown as European when he was a dark-skinned Middle Eastern Jew? Images shape narratives. Depicting God and heroes in one's likeness claims divine favor for dominance. Yet Scripture reveals undeniable black figures. Proof 2. Moses was a Cushite black African woman. Miriam and Aaron objected. God afflicted Miriam with leprosy, white as snow. Poetic reversal. Criticizing a black union leads to white affliction. God defends a marriage, punishing prejudice. Why is this rarely preached? It undermines racial superiority doctrines embedded in Western Christianity. Moses' world was African-influenced, raised in black Egyptian courts, fleeing to dark-skinned regions. Black people surrounded him. Proof 3. Psalm 68 verse 31 promises, Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God. A sustaining hope for the enslaved, referenced in spirituals. Today it's fulfilling. Christianity surges in Africa, over 734 million believers, rapid growth in Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia. African churches thrive. Missionaries reach back to Europe and America. Proof 4. Genesis 15 verse 13 predicts 400 years of affliction for Abraham's descendants, followed by judgment and exodus with possessions. From 1619, first enslaved Africans of Virginia, to 2019 spans 400 years, including slavery, Jim Crow, and ongoing inequities. Enslaved people identified with Exodus, singing, "Go down, Moses." God mandated reparations in Exodus 12 and Deuteronomy 15. Compensation for labor, not abandonment. Biblical justice demands restoration. Proof 5. Jesus embodied solidarity with the poor and oppressed, born humbly, ministered to outcasts, died a slave's death. His mission, liberty to captives, Luke 4. If unchanging, he sides with the marginalized today. Proof 6. Mishpat, Hebrew justice, means restorative equity, repairing wrongs, compensating the robbed, not just punishment. Deuteronomy 15 requires generous provision for freed slaves. America's post-slavery failure contrasts. No compensation, while owners sometimes received it elsewhere. Proof 7. End-time signs in Daniel, Matthew, Revelation point to global justice execution. The consequence, you'll change. Ignorance ends. Anger becomes purpose. Heartbreak fuels resolve. For the privileged, face truth honestly or cling to lies. This restores Scripture's teaching. God demands justice, shows no favoritism, and answers oppression's cry with power.